Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. We are in the double digits now. We were in the double digits last week too, Justin, but we are catching stride here in this fourth season for City, and not a whole lot to show for it yet. We're gonna break down this last match here, and play armchair center back at times here, Justin, in moments. But there's a lot of ire going on right now. I wanted to take a quick pulse check with you. Let's hold on the broader kind of news around the team, not on the field right now, which we will get into. But let's go to the field, start there. We're 3 games in, Justin, 1 point to show for it. You're even with your rivals sitting in the bottom of the league right now. It's not looking good from my perspective. I wanted to get a pulse check on you. Are you ready to throw away this season?
I'm not ready to throw it away. No. Is it getting harder? Yes. It's already been a roller coaster for a season where it's like, wow, Charlotte, we already talked about it, like a tie. Yeah, we should have had those 3 points, but it really made me feel good about the soccer we were playing. Then we go out to San Diego, and obviously you're missing Hartel, but good God, that was embarrassing. And then we had this one at home where it's like you're doing things right, but you're not putting the ball in the back of the net, and it's not like you're even on this one. It's not like we even created chances where I expect us to put it in the back of the net either. We'll talk about that in some of the details as well, but a little bit more disheartened on this one, I would say. I mean, defense I thought stood up, but then again, you're missing Jordan Morris and Paul Rothrock. Like they're number one and number two in the last season or so. I don't know. I'm pretty just like, okay, that sucked, but now we're looking down the barrel of the gun on these next couple. So that's where I'm at.
It's important that we remember back to what even we said, Justin, because we mentioned, I think this statistically, if you looked at last year's point totals and playoff, positions and teams that finished where, this was our hardest phase of the season, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So, you got to adjust the expectations a little, I think, for that. Where I draw the line is, and I don't want to take anything away from your hot take, which we'll get to, and I'm not going to, but you see still a lot of in the press conference around vision, and we have these big ambitions and blah blah blah. I think I put a tweet out there earlier this week, and I'm all for vision. I'm all for future ambition. I'm all for the what the ownership and the club is from a forward facing, like giving the press like what we want to be in the future. I'm all about it. I do think, though, and yeah, we're 3 games in. I do think, though, you do have to show us incrementally, at least tidbits of that. We can't be leaving games like this with our tail between our legs, where I feel like, I'm not even saying we do enough for a performance or for a result at times here, but it feels like a little bit nostalgic to last season where you really try hard and things don't go your way and their team just has more quality than you, and that ends up being the big difference. So I'm all about patience. We have to be really patient, but you do have to show us a little bit of something, a little bit of leg in the meantime there, Justin. But I don't want to take away from you. You're the RT or delete this week, Justin. What do we got? I'm feeling like it's gonna be spicy.
Jake, this one's a tough one because I didn't even like making it, to be honest. But everybody's seen it. Joao Klaus now has 4 goals in the MLS regular season in 3 games played. As a team, we have 1 goal in 3 games played. My retweet or delete, Jake, is we will not surpass his goal total compared to our entire team's output until after our 8th game of the regular season versus Seattle. So that's including the 90 minutes against Seattle. And here's why, Jake. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Actually, you know what? Let me know what your initial thought is, and then I'll give you a rundown as to why I think this.
My initial thought is it's going to be close. I think you might be right on Klaus. So I think I'm retweeting this. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of like I'm trying to shroud myself and protect myself from being hurt. But I don't know, Justin. Is that more of a compliment to him or more of a slight to us? Or is it just both?
It's a mix of both, but it's also looking at the next upcoming games for each team. And that's where I was going with this. LA Galaxy's next 3 games alone is at Austin, who's allowed 5 goals in 3 games. Orlando versus Orlando at home, who's allowed 11 goals in 3 games. And at Portland, who has allowed the second most goals in the MLS at 8 goals a game. 8 goals in 3 games. Compared to us, we're at LAFC, who have not allowed a single goal. Then we're versus New England, who's allowed 5, which is nice. That's back at home. Maybe we can get 2 there. That would be huge. Then we're at New York FC, who's only allowed 2 goals this entire season in 3 games. Then you look at it, we're on a road game, 3 road games after New England. It's New York FC, Dallas, Seattle. Their goals against are 2, 3, and 2. across 3-game span already. And then, Jake, if we don't get it done in Seattle, we're home for San Jose. And you're like, oh, San Jose's not that bad. They've allowed 0 goals as well. So it's not, I'm not trying to like just kick us while we're down, but our scoring chances aren't there. And that's what made me think about this. Joao Klaus has been playing well. Gabriel Peck just got a red card, so there's a better chance he's going to have even more chances against Austin next week. And it just looks like we're in a really tough stretch coming up, and I don't see where the goals are coming from.
Yeah, I mean, because you'd think, San Diego still hasn't conceded yet this season either. So we've played some of the better teams already, and we're going to play, better teams. And I don't think it's necessarily a problem of us just not being able to score, like we've seen at times with this team. It's that we really can't create, and when we do create, we create through one person, and we're entirely dependent on that one person. Like Justin, you went back to the highlights this week, which I know you did. Like every single time, I feel like I'm looking at the Incredibles scene with the teacher looking at Flash, saying he's right there. And he's there. Like every time I'm looking at the screen, it's Hartel. It's Hartel. It's Hartel over here. It's over there. It's off his boot. It's off his, like he's in the shoot. Like he is everywhere. And if it's not him, I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, for me, Justin, and I don't want to be too negative at this time either. I mean, we're only 3 games in, but the reliance that we have on him, it's almost like we are an injury away for Hartel, even if it's a short-term one, at really, really being in a tough spot. You're just not seeing that load shared around. Like I tweeted about Lowen, like he would be such a nice person to kind of shoulder some of that as well. We just don't have enough creators, I feel like. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. Because it's one where it's like Hartel, we have plenty of guys come off the bench and fill that spot, but not that role, if that makes sense. Like you have a Celio. We started Toy Shirt this game. We have a Sangbin. We have a Mackay Joyner. We have got McSorley. We have guys that can come in and play that position, but not take on the role and responsibility that he does. Not only moving forward with the ball at his feet, but also directing on the defensive end and the amount that he runs as he led the MLS in running last year. So Jake, I think you went with the retweet. So again, recapping. Joao Klaus has 3 more goals than our entire team does right now, 3 games into the season. I don't think we're going to exceed his total. I don't think we're going to make up a 4-goal span on him until after the 8th game of the regular season. I think we need 5 more games to make up a 4-goal span on Joao Klaus.
Yeah, I'm retweeting, but I sincerely hope, and I know that you hope, that we're both wrong on this one. So again, just trying to protect ourselves a little bit. But let's talk about the Hoffman Brothers starting 11 from this game, Justin. Hoffman Brothers, reminder, is giving a portion of all sales this month. I saw, by the way, 3 trucks outside today. I know people were probably struggling a little bit flipping that AC on. It was 85 degrees, I felt like at times. But all sales, a portion of all sales made during this month through the end of March are going towards Stray Rescue. Do it for the pups. And if there's a better time, I can't think of one, because right now you are helping out not just yourself on the home front, but these strays that need all the support and need the rehoming and all the materials and resources that Stray Rescue needs to keep them sheltered and looking for their next home. So anything you have to do with it, HVAC maintenance, remember heating season, that's coming to an end. Yeah, we might dip back down a couple times here, but we're moving that direction, all of us St. Louisans. And you got to make sure everything's all clean under the roof before you flip the AC and it becomes 95 very, very quickly here. So shout out to Hoffman Brothers for sponsoring Ball Watching this year. We are presented by them, and I encourage you all, give them a shout. Go look them up online. Incredible customer service, great people. They will get you what you need. Did this 11 give you what you need, Justin? Because it was really only one main change besides Hartel coming back into the fold. So I kind of, I put that one to the side, but really we saw Toy Shirt come in for Sangbin. I think we both predicted Sangbin would come out, given just the lack of, really sort of any footprint in the last couple of matches with us. And I thought Toy Shirt was one of my highlights for this match, and it was not in the way that I expected him to, but we'll talk about that. Did any of this 11 strike you, Justin, in any way?
No, the only other thing that I would say that was still somewhat surprising is Noah Mbake fall. I thought he might be taking over for Orozco there as the right center back. Not opposed. I mean, maybe he's not ready. He's still getting fit, getting chemistry with the boys. I mean, it's the 3rd game, so I'm not trying to rush it, but I kind of thought this would be the game to throw him in there. But other than that, no. And I do agree. I think we were talking about it. It was either going to be Toy Shirt or Celio that we're going to be coming off here. And I think Toy Shirt, with the kind of the spark that he's given in the first 2 games, earned the chance to have a starting role there. But I mean, you've seen it. Mackay Joyner is also killing it again for City 2, and Celio, I'm sure, has not lost any touch whatsoever. So there's plenty of guys battling for the spot, but give it to Toy Shirt. And you know what, Jake? I wasn't really my man of the match. I think we'll get on there. We'll get through that towards the end of it. I have a couple stats on Toy Shirt specifically why I was a little bit turned off. I think he got a little bit too big for his britches. but it was cool to see him get the
Ooh.
start.
All right, we'll get there. Yeah, so let's talk about the game. In the beginning, as I feel like we usually call out for first halves or starts at Energizer Park, the team came out with a good pace, a good tone. They started on the front foot. They came to the table wanting to be an antagonist. They had a couple, I'd call it early breakthroughs, maybe early half chances here and there, but the output, the actual pedigree, the quality stayed, at a pretty low level, I would say. Seattle was really limited, though. There was one moment I know we called out here in the opening 15 where Toy Shirt, made one of them, and I'm saying one of them because there were multiple, and this is what I want to call out with him, made a very, very strong progressive carry on the ball that I don't remember from seeing in his game. We saw so little of him last year given his injuries, and we saw a good amount of him when we signed him in the back half of 2024. He on the ball, on the dribble, looked really good. And by the way, we don't have many guys that can do that. Like Celio's a dribbler, Hartel, can dribble as well. But Toy Shirt picking the ball up on the half turn, getting a full turn, and then driving through the heart of the pitch, not looking to lay it off immediately, looking to bait in defenders and look for that more incisive pass to create an opportunity. We haven't had enough of that. And he picked it up in the middle of almost the really end of our defensive third and totally carried it. 50 plus yards, Justin? It was really impressive. And it wasn't the only time we saw that this match.
No, it was awesome to see that from him. The one thing I will say is, where did he get the wheels? I know the man's got a body on him, and he can body some guys off, but the man just dribbled 55 yards without a single defender catching up to him. And I will say, also, great job, great point to him. One on that carry too. Right here, this is the right decision for him. You have the defender that has his back turned to Hartel, and Simon, the defender's in the way of the pass for Simon, so dish it to Hartel. Unfortunately, I think he probably used all of his juice. Didn't really focus on the heaviness of the touch because he pushed it too far wide for Hartel. I would have liked to see Hartel cut this back and try to take this guy one-on-one. But I think if Toy Shirt would have laid that off a little bit easier, it could have been a nice one-time finish or even an easier cutback for Hartel.
Yeah, you're hoping that final touch, like that just kind of gets crisped up over the scene. I know they're kind of ramping him up slowly with minutes because he didn't go the full 90 here. They've been really slow playing his integration into the team, given I think his injury from last year being pretty serious. But that was a good moment. And really the opening stretch, right? I mean, you look at this, not that we had Seattle on the ropes, but I was expecting a lot more of a punch from Seattle in this opening rhythm. And by the way, they were missing some key players like you talked about too. So I think they did your classic textbook come in to, an away ground with, a loud raucous atmosphere against a team, that they were still favored, by the way, Seattle was in this match. So they knew they had the upper hand, even despite some of the injuries, but they played their role, right? They didn't come out and expose themselves very much. They didn't open up a transition game for us. They definitely sat back a little bit more and kind of waited for their moment. That moment came, not in the first half, though. So that first half, I feel like, was a lot of kind of feeling out from Seattle, where I feel like for us, it was really our opportunity to come out and have that precision, have that quality, and be able to suss out Seattle and make it a game for them. Because I think first half going in even, that's a win for Seattle.
Oh, a win for Seattle? I think it's a win
for
us, to be honest, as well. I mean, I would have loved for us to put one away, but I thought I agree with you. I think we had a strong first half. We had 52% possession. I'm not trying to dominate a team like that. We did have 8 shots, 3 of them landing on target. I will say 2 of those were pretty weak. And I mean, overall, it was pretty weak because we only had an XG of 0.37. Yeah. However, from a defensive side, Seattle only created a 0.07 XG in that entire first half. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid half from the boys, but then we kind of threw it away right in the beginning of the first half.
Yeah, right before that, I want to talk, Justin, because this is actually something we saw later on, and then it killed us because Seattle got on the board. But there was kind of 2 methods of attack, right, for us. When Seattle did decide to venture forward, bring numbers, try to, get a cross into the box or penetrate into the box, do something. We were very, very quick in the opening, part of the first half to try to go north and south as quickly as possible. Quick breaks, fast transitions, just trying to go very, very direct with the attackers. And, there was some danger generated there. Quite honestly, that was probably most of our chances, our half chances that we had in that first half. There was also moments, and you heard it through the commentating as well, when we just won the ball, let's just call it our defensive third, and that quick, that fast break wasn't on. We, started to kind of play it back and forth with your defenders, go out left, recycle it back out right, maybe look for Edelman and Durkin for a bumper pass. It was those moments, Justin, that stuck out to me because there were a couple that we were able to, break through and progress through the middle third and into the attacking third. But that's the area that I think we're all looking for City to eventually get to is, can you break teams down? Because good teams can do that. All good teams have to be able to do something like that. Because in a game state where you are down a goal or you're up a goal, you'll have to manage games and change how you do things. But a team that gets a lead on you like Seattle, and like they did in the second half, which we'll talk through the goal here, they knew in the first half our quality on the ball when we had to kill them with possession and try to incisive pass, split the lines, pull people out of position and kind of pull them out of their structure, out of their block. You saw in the first half how much we struggle with that. And I think that gave Seattle a level of confidence to say that, hey, if we can get a goal here, if we can nick a goal somehow, we will be able to defend these guys. They're going to have a very, very difficult time getting us hemmed in and getting us really pounded with shots and high quality big chances. We had 0 on the night over the whole match. So I just think that first half, as much as it was us really more in the driver's seat, I do think Seattle probably gained some confidence knowing that it was very difficult for us to break them down.
Right. I think we had more shots, obviously, but again, it's not amounting to much. It doesn't matter if you have a shot that's a dribbler right at
Yeah.
the keeper on the ground. So, and I think Seattle, to your point, Jake, is like, hey, if you're going to rip those from outside, fine. Keep shooting half quarters. We're just going to stay compact, and we're going to make you kind of play through us. And I don't think that this team currently has the chemistry to be able to do that. And obviously, we're missing a couple parts as well, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But I think just really quick to run through this goal as well, Jake. Yeah, everybody knows volume turnover. I want to talk about what happened before there because I really do think that there were 3 chances Seattle had to score that goal prior to that. Here's a freeze frame right now when we're trying to press and their goalkeeper is about to go long. Mr. Edelman, you don't need to be up here. You don't need to be on the front lines right next to Vollum and also next to Toyshirt. That already keeps you out of position. And the reason I say that, Jake, is now watch this. Ball goes over the head. Vollum's up there. And look at this. We have 3v3 on the back line, and it's actually a 2-on-1 with Jesus Ferreira next to Orozco. Orozco's not winning this ball either. It's going over his head. Gets down behind. You have 2 Seattle guys in behind Orozco right there. That's fine. We pause frame right here. We're in a good, decent spot, right? No. Look at the back post. Polvara and Baumgartel have no one between them. Polvara actually has a guy on his back right now and another runner running behind him. You're not catching up here, Mr. Santos. Watch this ball drop in here, Jake. We are lucky that this is a mistouch. That is a 2v1 in our box. Baumgartel is 15 yards away, and that's going to the back of the net. Luckily, mistouch. They go back around like, all right, we do have a little bit more life. One more chance, right? Well, we're going to give them 2 more, Jake, because as this ball recirculates here again, watch right here. I like to watch Baumgartel here. Again, we have no one. We're just letting these guys float between these center backs. You got to get a hand on the jersey because watch right here. Look at that space. And you know how tricky these guys are. Watch this ball in. Baumgartel, you got to be closer so that he can't make this touch because watch this. How is that not a goal as well? Jesus Ferreira slotted in behind, right behind our back defense. Luckily, overweighted pass, just like Toyshirts in the first half. And then it goes to the corner. Everybody knows what happens next. This is where the turnover is. Vollum kind of loses his footing, doesn't get a good pass to Orozco, plays Jesus Ferreira in. Nice little touch. And then also on that last one, Jake, sorry, this is going to be nitpicky, but Polvara, this is how you defend and try to block a shot when you're a center defensive mid, not a center back. When the ball's in the box right here, you need to get up and next to that guy. He's doing what he would be doing if he was playing outside the 18 where he usually plays. As a center back, his legs are wide open, and this guy is finding a hole for it and putting it right in the bottom corner.
Yeah, it was kind of, I agree, Justin. It was kind of a series of 3 all in one sequence. And that final one, I mean, yeah, you don't like the mistake that gives Seattle the life they need here in this one. Frankly, too, I mean, yeah, Wallen can't make that play. Again, this kind of goes back to Justin. I think what I talked about last match is I feel like the guys at this moment are willing to live and die by, trying to build up and progress out of the back. There wasn't really a good pass to be made there, frankly. I'm looking at his positioning here. There's no one in front of him. There's no outlet. And Orozco's not in a good spot to receive that ball. He's behind him and he's square. So there's really not a good chance, I think, for Wallum to make a good, successful outcome here. So, hey, if you're Wallum, hoof that thing up the field and live to fight another day. We do not need to be that aggressive at all times because Seattle's going to wait for that momentary lapse in judgment. And they're a good freaking team. We talked about it. They're experienced, they're veteran laden, and they will make you pay in moments like that. So it's just shooting yourself in the foot. I think we talked about it. We said, do not give Seattle that opportunity. They will make it's like men versus boys. And not because they have so much quality, we have none. It's just because they've been there before. They know how to win games like this. Don't make it easy for them.
Vollum knows this, and he'll he'll raise his hand in the film session and say, "Yeah, I should just play this ball up into the space." Yes,
Yeah.
Simon's not there. Also, Simon's not expected to be there. He's the starting center striker. He's not going to be that wide when we're playing this formation. But you can see here, right after Valum loses it, you could see Simon coming over. It's just that space where this assistant ref is. That's where you just got to put that ball. Get it back up to the half line. Try to curl it up the line because look, Simon is trying to come over into that space as well. And yes, that's tricky, right? He also wants to keep possession. That's what DeMay has been trying to put into him. But when we're like, you also have an attacker directly behind you after you won that ball. Do not try to make a back pass. Just get the ball off the field.
So that, by the way, also happens in the opening minute of the second half. Inexcusable in terms of game management. You got to come out firing. You cannot make a mistake like that at that point in the match. Hopefully never, but really at that time especially, because that gives Seattle what they wanted, what they needed. Turnover in a dangerous zone, quick attack, one pass, and you're in. You're up 1-0, and then they make life insanely difficult for you. And again, they play to your weaknesses. They saw all first half how we struggled to break them down and how our main real attacking chances or kind of chances all came from transition play. So now we have to beat them, like actually beat them in soccer with the ball. They're going to concede the ball. And then you see the stats get really lopsided, right, in the second half, Justin, because a lot of folks wanted to point to that, after this game, like, hey, well, we won on all these metrics and all these data points and whatnot, which we'll talk about. But the only one that really matters is the score sheet. And Seattle got that goal. And I think just the game state played right into their hands because they've been here before. They can defend. They can absolutely defend. They were not an easy team to breach throughout last season as well as this season so far as well. And I think we got a little more desperate. I don't think we really also moved the needle though, Justin, right? Like I don't feel like it was us clamoring for it like I remember from the Charlotte game, right? Where we had a couple huge grade A opportunities at the very end. We didn't get them, but at least we had some big chances. We had none in this one. There were a couple, here or there, and Berkey made a big stop to keep it at 1-0 later on in the match. But this final stretch is really like us chasing shadows out there. There was no penetrating passes, dangerous sequences that you said, whoa, wow, we really could have had something there. Seattle was probably shaking in their boots because they weren't.
And the one that I do want to give kudos again to Berkey on this, because obviously he let up one goal with a decent amount of chances. And from Seattle, I understand that Baumgartel and them after the game, they're like, no, we played pretty good defensively. This is a perfect example where they pretty much left him out to dry on a couple of these. It was just lucky that Seattle missed those chances. I don't think it was because of our defense. Look at this one again right here, Jake. Ball in the middle of the field. Guess who's behind the ball? Both of them again is Edelman and Durkin. So we have a guy going directly at our back line who already have Baumgartel on a guy, Pulvara on a guy, and another guy open over here because, again, Santos not getting back. As they progress this ball, they go right at the center back. They go right at Pulvara, and they say, hey, 2v1, nutmegs him, and then great save by Roman Berkey. Again, that looks like an easy one off the side. Like, no, he's standing big, and he's making sure that we're not absolutely losing this game in the 80th minute. We're going to still get a chance for the 90th +5 or whatever it went into.
Yeah, I'll take that point a little bit further too. I do feel like one of the positives so far this season, I do feel like he's made some big saves in big moments for us to keep us, within spitting distance of the opponents that we've been playing against. So at least he's up for the task, and you're going to need that, down the stretch throughout the whole season if this is what we're going to look like. We made some subs, Justin. I don't really think any of them made a remarkable impact. Cordova came in for his debut for Toy Shirt about 60 minutes in. The game had totally flipped at that point, given Seattle was now kind of sitting back into their low block. McSorley came in for Betcher at 78. Sangbin came in for Wallem at 88. And you look at those three, none of them, I feel like, bring a level of fear into the opponent when they enter the pitch. So for us, I think it was just changing scenery, changing players, getting fresh legs on. I don't think anyone was expected to be a lock picker.
The only one on that one, Jake, is Celio. You want to find a guy that can pick a lock. That guy can break down anybody in the MLS, and I seriously mean anybody. So I am starting to get a little bit confused on what is happening there, because this seemed like a perfect one to let him get a shot at. I understand McSorley has been scoring, and maybe he fits better in that role up top directly for Betcher. But like, why don't you just put Cordova and Celio in at the same time and take out Toy Shirt and Betcher and put Cordova straight up top, and try to have Celio and him with fresh legs and have that little connection go there. So that was one that I would have liked to see from a sub perspective. Key stats, momentum was ours for the majority of the game. Obviously, we had a pretty strong first half. In our second half, which we'll touch here on the second, our second half stats look incredible. That's also because Seattle scored 45 seconds into the half. They don't have to be pushing. They can kind of just sit back and let us take it. So, Jake, do you want to comment on some of these first half stats? And then I can kind of touch on the toy shirt one as well.
Yeah, I mean, because this is the first. That's the only half that really we played from an even keel, right? Because both teams at 0-0. We had just about over half possession in that 107 passes in the opposition half, one corner to show for it on 5 crosses. That cross count, Just, I want to hit on specific when you talk about second half, really ticked up. But before we hit second half, also, where is Mekhi Joyner for the first team? I know he's doing well for City too. I don't have it in me to think about a valid reason why he's not getting minutes with this first team, given how poor we are in attack right now. You cannot tell me that he couldn't have shown something, or he couldn't have been, if McSorley over Joyner, even I kind of question sometimes, but saying, Ben, like, what has he showed you that's been dangerous? Mekhi Joyner, yes, it's an MLS Next Pro. That guy's got goals and assists. He's got goals and assists. Like, can he replicate that here? We'll never know if he never plays.
Yeah, well, I think I'll pull it up, but Chat City Tactics Mike had a great tweet. He's like, if you're the best guy in the room, like 2 years in a row, you're in the wrong room. And I think that's a great way to look at it. It's like at some point you're saying that he's like too good for MLS Next Pro and he's showing it in the stat line, but then he's not good enough for the MLS. So it's like, what is our plan with this guy going forward? And it's probably, I would assume people are going to start asking this of DeMay and Corey, 2 guys that we talked about, has been a kind of truest when it comes to building from the ground up inside of your own club, from an academy all the way through to the first team. But it seems like we're not seeing a whole lot of that. Yes, we're 3 games in. So maybe before you start throwing the young guy in there, you got to give the first teamers a chance, because like, what would that do to Celio if you're just automatically like, Joyner, get in there after you call him up for the first game? So maybe there is a little bit of game that you got to play there with some of these guys. But to your point, Jake, these second half stats, people are like, wow, we really killed these guys. Well, it's like, yeah, they just sat back. 71% possession, 237 passes in the opposition's half, 7 corners. And this one frustrates me, Jake. 24 crosses. How did we remember that we got rid of Joao Klaus? And it's like, who are we crossing this ball to? Like, I thought we were like changing our style. And from the first half, we had 5 crosses and 24 in the second half.
Remember that game from last year where I think we had like 45? I think we set an MLS record.
It doesn't fit on any other,
frankly, it doesn't matter who you have in there. You could have Peter Crouch in his prime out there. I don't even think our quality on the cross is that good. So why are we doing it and leaning on that much? Like, why don't we grow a little bit of sack, frankly, and let's do it the hard way? How else are we going to learn to do it the hard way? And I'm saying, like, penetrate centrally, look for incisive passes, split the lines, make off the ball runs, tease defenders out of positions, find those pockets, exploit those spaces. Like, that's the hard stuff. That's how you really win games if you don't have guys that can play a pinpoint cross at a high level pace. So yeah, it's just a really frustrating one, because I see courage in some places from this team, in trying to build out of the back and whatnot. And I see frailties, and I see things that feel more reminiscent of years past that just have not been successful. And that's not all to be fixed in 3 games either, by the way. But, as a fan, it's still frustrating, because I feel like at this game, if I had to try to wrap it up, put a bow on it for us, it's not that we were played off the field or that Seattle was so dominant. It's that we dictated most of this game, like we were on the front foot. We had the ball. And having the ball, by the way, isn't a win in itself. But when it comes down to it, I feel like we're just never sharp enough. We don't have a higher pedigree or a higher quality than our opponent has. They get more value from their higher attacking talent than we do in those key crucial moments where we find ourselves wanting, because they're so fleeting, right? We have maybe one a game, maybe none a game. And we always kind of seem to like to flash at it or just to miss that moment when it really matters. And Seattle didn't. Like, that was all they needed. That's all they needed. And they missed other good ones as well, like you showed us. But good teams, they seize those moments. And right now, we're not.
And we have a guy that can seize those moments, Jake. This is a tweet I was talking about for anybody that can view this visually on YouTube. Chat City Tactics said, great for Joyner, after Joyner scored into the backflip in the MLS Next Pro game the day after our game. So great for Joyner. Another season of MLS Next Pro minutes would be a waste. He was too good for it in 2024. He was too good for it in 2025, and he's too good for it in 2026. This is the kicker part that I absolutely love from Mike. To adapt the saying, if you're the best player in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so at some point, when does that jump happen? I don't know, Jake. I mean, here, let's just ask, what do you think right now? How soon before you see Mekhi Joyner on the first team, and not where you want him to be, because I know we would want to see him with LAFC, even in this game, knowing that it's going to be a struggle. But like, how soon do you really realistically think we will see him on the bench? Which then means he probably won't get minutes that game, or maybe even the next game, unless we're in an absolute blowout.
I think he was on the bench for this match. I'm confirming right now, and I think he's been on the bench for every match so far for us as well. He just hasn't played, which is just like even more of a disservice in my opinion. So let me verify that, Justin. But I think if we're looking, assuming that's the case, right? Let's just assume that he's been around, been in the squad, been available, just hasn't been chosen, hasn't gotten his minutes yet. I think if you get 5 games in, like
Right.
5 full 90s, yes, I know we're not winning, which sucks, and it's hard to throw a young guy in there to kind of take some of that brunt. But again, when attack has been your weakness so far, by the way, he was on the bench for this last one. You have to try something different. And like, by the way, this season we all know it's gonna be a growth season. It's gonna be a hard haul all the way through. You might as well find out what you have in him. You know what I mean? Like, is what we're seeing in MLS Next Pro, what we've heard about him getting call-ups to youth national teams to the US, is this real? Like, do we have something on our hands? Because you're not going to find out if you never give him the minutes to test it. And then, by the way, you have to be patient with him on there. Like, you have to give him starts. You can't just give him 10 minutes, 15 minutes, even 20 at the end of the game. So, like, I'd be really, really upset if we get 5 matches in, 5 full matches, and he hasn't seen the field yet. I think you have to see the field. And I think for him, he'll start to lose confidence as well, because that guy keeps riding on the bench. Yeah, he's playing with Next Pro, but he's got the contract. He's got the hype around him. You've got to throw the handbrake off and see what this man is made of.
Yeah, sorry, hand up on my. He has been on the bench in all 3 matches.
Yeah,
it's just I hasn't seen the field, so I kind of just assumed he wasn't even there, because
right. He might as well not be there.
We haven't been winning. I guess we were winning in the first game, but we've been down in a significant number of minutes, and we have yet to see the man even get close to hitting the pitch. So the last one that I want to say, Jake, on this entire game, and kind of putting where I'm kind of circling back to what I said about Toysher from the beginning, we had 5 total shots on target, amounting to 0.46 XG on target. That is not good enough. That is saying that we have literally less than 10% chance on each of our chances that we created on target. And unfortunately, Jake, Toyshirt had 2 of those shots on target. Seems like a great stat, right? One of them was from 30 yards, and one was from the right side of the 18 when he was falling away.
Yeah.
That created a total of 0.05 XG. So at some point, just shooting the ball isn't a good stat line. And that's where I got a little bit upset. So if you look at that, then we really only had 3 solid shots on target, but they made up 0.41. That's not terrible. That's above 10% chance. So that's where I got frustrated when I was watching it. And it's like, Toyshirt, when you get into that spot, I need you to have a little bit more composure. I know he's amped up. I know he's seeing the field. I know he's back from injury, but like, pump the brakes and find some feet.
Agreed. Well, let's step out of the recap. Let's step off the field for a second, Justin. And before we get back on the field, there's a couple things we're going to talk about. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the news that broke yesterday morning, that being Tuesday, of the passing of Eduard Lowen's wife, Ilona, after a 2-year battle with brain cancer. Yeah, I mean, just it's hard to find words for that, because you want to have the most empathy you can for a guy like that who we all love, you know. And by the way, I'm taking the pitch out of it. Like, obviously we all love him as a player, we miss the hell out of him, but as a person, like you and I know, got to sit down with him for, you know, hour plus and talk to him about all things, you know, family, faith, obviously the field as well. But listening to him speak, he is so far beyond his years. By the way, just a reminder for most people probably listening to the show, most of these guys, including Lowen, are all younger than you. So when you're thinking about bashing on these guys and you saying really negative things or hurtful things online, remember that. But he carries a weight with his words, and he's a man of faith. You know, the love and admiration that he has for Ilona, and the prioritization, Justin, right, to take a step back. Like, a lot of guys I feel like might not have taken a step back and really played their role as a loving husband and, you know, caretaker and caregiver, because it takes a village in these things. We both know that. I have the utmost respect for how he's carried himself through this, and we are just absolutely gutted for him and his family. It's an awful time. And yeah, I mean, we miss him. We obviously miss him, and I know that he'll miss Ilona, and we will too, for all that knew her.
I mean, it's absolutely heartbreaking, and you can see that the character and the way that he holds himself on and off the pitch show within the amount of people and comments. If you go look at that City post, I got the chills. Think about all the MLS teams, the Bundesliga, his former teams reaching out. Like, this man there's not a single person that's like, oh, Eduard Lowen, that's a bad guy. I mean, when I talk about when he had some of the stuff he does on the field, I'm like, that's a bad man. Right. But no, but in all seriousness, like, it pains me. It's something to where when you see someone that genuine, going through that just for the last 2 years, but then also on the way that it ended is just horrific. And I really, really want everyone to give him his time and his space. I think as a fan base, I think everybody has done an incredible job about that. And I know it's extremely hard with how results have been happening on the pitch, but this is a big reminder that there are many things that are far bigger than the game, and we just need to be there for our guy Lowen right now.
Yeah, and I feel like all these horrible things that happen, most of them I feel like seem to have a silver lining, and I couldn't agree more with your point about the outpouring of support from clubs, fans alike, all throughout the world that have touched him in some way or form, or he has touched them. Like, it's one of the prouder moments I feel like to have a guy like that on your team that has that much respect from not only the fan base but all the clubs in this league. Like, that's just not, you don't just have to do that, right? You earn that respect by carrying yourself the way that he carries himself. And I'm sure he doesn't care about those things, like getting that support. Like, I'm sure, like, hey, maybe one day he'll turn around, he'll look at that kind of stuff, which would be great in reflection. But just to know or to be surrounded by that much love in a community that I feel like, we have sometimes a negative, right, sort of frame of view on how things have gone. But in the times like these that we're living in, sometimes it's these things that are just so terrible that find a way to bring us together. And I hope it's a rallying cry for this community and this fan base. And, for anyone that's impacted here, like, I hope that we all carry ourselves just a little bit differently after having things like this. And I hope it ignites a flame in this team. Like, you play for Lowen, and you play for family, and you play for the community, because it's not just a given. So I think that's all really important too.
Yeah, very well said, Jake. We're gonna try to get this back into the soccer sense slowly. We're gonna bring us into former City player news, and then also news around the MLS. We've already kind of spoiled this one.
Yeah,
Klaus scored again. He scored in the 56th minute. He was the equalizer to make it 1-1 before Colorado absolutely pulled away. But now he has 4 goals on the season and is tied for the Golden Boot with Sturridge down in Nashville. And then I'll take this next one as well, Jake. But Indy got the start in Philly. Their 0-1 loss against San Jose. Is Carnell having a little bit of a sophomore slump up there, Jake?
Those narratives are starting to formulate.
We're not saying it. Someone else
we're not saying it. It's other people that are saying it. We just know how that feels. And Philadelphia's off to a really, really rough start after having an excellent campaign last season. Bartlett went the full 90 in a 2-1 loss against Miami in front of over 70,000 fans in Baltimore at the M&T Bank Stadium. Super cool. Big Sam scored in the 3-1 W for Lask over Wolfsburger in Austria. And Isak Jensen is on the score sheet again with an assist in his start for AZ Alkmaar's 1-2 loss against PSV. There's guys out there, they're succeeding. This team is not. But again, we know that you love and breathe this team and these players, no matter who they play for now. So got to give you some of the production of what's going on, Justin.
And we'll keep it short just so the guys, like we said, that are doing bigger things in some of these games. Obviously, if we try to connect this all the way out to I can't, like, Thor. What's Thor doing now? We'd have a whole podcast just on that. But news in the rest of MLS, I'll make this quick as well. The MLS, for the first time ever, has 4 clubs that are a perfect 3-0 in the first 3 matches. That's San Jose, Vancouver, San Diego, and of course LAFC, which we're about to get into the preview on in a second. You mentioned this one earlier, but Miami beat DC 2-1 at a neutral site match in Baltimore that drew 72,000 fans. I absolutely love that they're doing this. I know it's got to be tiring for Messi to be doing this in front of this many people. I mean, he's been doing it his whole life, but like, they had them play at UMBC. Did you see his practice? He walked on the field, looked around, I think that's a barbed wire fence. Like, this man was so confused. But Messi scored again in Baltimore. And then the last theme that I had, Jake, this is a little bit of a fun one. Red cards.
Yeah.
Orlando keeper Max Crepo had a red card in the 16th minute, and they got blown out 5-0 after that by NYFC. And then Gabriel Peck actually received a straight red just 4 minutes after Klaus had that equalizer. So they were in this game. Peck goes down with the red card, and Colorado scores 3 straight to beat the Galaxy in a win. So sometimes the best ability is availability. And that's the first time I've not stuttered over that, I think, since 2024.
It's true. Look at you. You're learning, man. Let's talk about LAFC, because they're a perfect team right now. By the way, we've now played 3 of those 4 perfect teams. Sorry, we will have played 3 of them in our first 10 matches, with San Jose coming down very soon. But San Diego, LAFC. Oh, LAFC and San Diego. But I would mostly hit LAFC because they've been around since we've been around. But LAFC is the only team in the West besides San Diego. Again, remember, they're an expansion team, newer than us, so I'm not really counting them. LAFC has not ever been put to the sword by St. Louis City yet. They're the only team in the West that has not been defeated by us yet. We are a whopping 0-4-2 win-loss draw against LAFC. And they're just, man, it's a fun team to watch, Justin. Like, that's probably one of the more fun teams that I do like to click into their games when we're not playing, like, just because they have the stars. They just have that really fun, flashy, sort of attack-focused soccer, and it shows in the stats.
Yeah, but Jake, guess what? We're going to look like LAFC on Saturday. We're going to be wearing the gold Tina Turner against the black and gold out in LAFC. But yes, it's tough. When you say 0-4-2, it's like, that's a lot of numbers, right? I think it's really, let's take a step back. That's 2 points out of a possible 18 points.
Yeah.
That's where you really, it's like, oh my goodness, this has been a rough one for us. But like you said, this team has been very strong. 3rd in the West on 60 points last season, 17-8-9 win-loss draw. How did their season end? They were defeated by PKs in PKs by Vancouver in the Western Conference semifinal. They were number 4 in goals for and number 5 in goal against last year. And obviously they have some massive key players there, but Jake, and those guys are kind of balling out again this year. Again, we mentioned it, 2026. They are 9 points out of 9 points, 0 goals conceded as well. They're 3-0 Miami to start, 2-0 at Houston, and 1-0 versus Dallas. If I'm doing my math right, this game that we're going to have on Saturday ends 0-0, right?
Yeah.
Highly doubtful. I think the over-under is like 3.5, and you then or the over is like -150. But the Stars are out to play. Son has 3 assists already. Bouanga has a goal and an assist, and David Martinez has 2 goals. And Jake, they actually are playing a lot more games right now too. They're in the first leg of the Champions Cup round of 16 tonight at 10 p.m. our time against the Costa Rican side. I wasn't going to try to pronounce it. They already won the first round against Real Espana 7-1 on aggregate.
I was looking at that, Justin. I forgot to put it in here. Thank you for putting that here. I was really hoping they were going to go play in Costa Rica. I'm like, oh, they're going to be leggy, and they'll be leggy from travel as well. But no, this one's at home. It's still a long flight. Actually, no, they're still sorry. Wait, they're staying home, and we're flying to them. So we're the leggy ones.
It is a midweek game, which is a plus. But I was looking at the lines on this. They should absolutely slaughter this team.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we'll see. They are playing, like you said. So there's that to factor in. And they've made some additions, Justin, in the off season to kind of, I'd say, maybe not necessarily any big stars or like big needle movers that make LAFC that much better. But to me, I look at these and I want you to kind of talk through what you think about this. But this, I think where they're trying to get to, and we'll talk more about it, is they're trying to evolve into being a little bit more dangerous in possession as well. They've always been the most lethal counterattacking team out there. Like, just the pace, it's breakneck when you think about Bouanga and obviously Son as well with that final touch. And then David Martinez is obviously having a great start to the season as well. So they add a guy like Steven Eustachio in central defensive midfielder. He's a Canadian international, 29 years old, a loan from FC Porto. I think we've all heard of that team. They added Budry as well from the Swedish First Division. And they also brought in Jacob Schaufelberg for some cover on the left side or any kind of across any of the winger spots, even up top. He's a Canadian international as well. That if you're bringing Schaufelberg on with no plans of starting him, right, given the quality you have, I think you're in a pretty good spot.
I think this is one where they're making some of these moves, Jake, and it's almost just like, to your point, they don't need to make the big splashes. I think they're just trying to bolster their team a little bit more. And I think they will make another big splash one of these times. It's like, all right, you already have Son and Bouanga. So like your next big splash is probably back in the midfield or the defense. But as of right now, they didn't really need to. But other people were looking to take Bouanga. That's why I was trying to confirm again. Floremis offered $15 million. That was just 5 weeks ago. And before that, Miami offered $13 million for Bouanga. So they turned it down. And Jake, I love this one. You know that I love poking at it. That they turned it down Like, obviously, that's some awesome cash. It's because they didn't have a replacement. And they have
Yep.
Son. And they'd say they didn't have a replacement, but we saw $2.5 million and thought it was an absolute pot of gold and said, see ya, get off to LA.
Yeah. Yeah, different management strategies, certainly. I would say there they did lose Olivier Giroud. That's an unfortunate one. I like Giroud a lot. I think he's had a great career, but this just wasn't the move for him. I look back on it. I think a lot of people had high hopes for it, including myself, given my support of Arsenal and just his career. Like he's a great player to watch, like so fun, so acrobatic. But his hold up play and style just doesn't really complement what they try to do now. Under Mark Dos Santos, who's taken over for the former head coach Steve Cherundolo, who stepped down after last season. Maybe he would be more of a fit if they want to have more of that ball. But they're still, I'm not feeling any sorry for them at all. So they're in a 4-3-3 under Mark Dos Santos. Like I said, they have that attacking firepower locked, and they have that counterattacking, that quick transitions locked. What they're trying to add, I think, is this idea of we can play from two different angles. Sometimes we can also break it down with the ball as well, which they haven't been known to do, but they have X factor guys, right, that can make something out of nothing. And they have bolstered their midfield to make them a little more muscular, a little more physical in the midfield, and also better awareness, better vision, better passing in midfield as well. So it's a star-led line, but they do have enough midfield quality now, I feel like, to kind of move through you as well as around you, depending on game state, and they can do that in those two different ways.
Yeah, because what Jake's been talking about is, I mean, before Sun came, it was really the Bawanga show up top, and it was more of can you get in behind? And
Yeah.
it's like if you had anybody that was even only one step ahead of him, they're putting the ball in up over top, and he's going to go track it down and beat the goalkeeper, or playing it down the corner and then let him take it one on one. Now it's a little bit more constant in a group as a movement forward. But they obviously they still have Bawanga on the left, Sun central, and then Martinez on the other side. But they're starting to see this where the ball is going to go into the midfield and then either sprayed out wide and then kind of brought back in and then pushed back up the middle, or they can even just take it right down the middle, a little up back through with some of these guys. You don't have to be reliant on Bawanga and his speed getting in behind, which makes this team that much more dangerous.
I would go out and say, Justin, this is probably the scariest attack in Major League Soccer. And, on any given day, Miami, I think, could also flex into that slot as well. But I'm looking at this as Baumgartel, as Polvara, as Orozco, as Mbake, whoever's going to play on Saturday. And this is, I think, the stiffest test you can face in this league right now, especially right now, because they can do it all. Like I said, they're a Rolls Royce in attack. They've got guys that are making the back post runs, the cutbacks. They've got aerial threats. They just got so much quality, and just, man, you would love to have honestly one of those players on your team. I think we'd be a remarkably different team. And they've, again, bolstered midfield to kind of help extend attacks as well, get it recycled, get it back on. Defensively, still a very, very organized back line, healthy enough when they can be very, very functional, and they can get numbers around the ball and kind of swarm you. They're not about that man marking and getting pulled out of position. They do try to bring numbers to the most dangerous zones and kind of zonally defend. And again, starting with 3 shutouts, that's a good thing as well. But remember, so did we last season. I would not go overboard on the defensive side for them. I don't want to overstate that they're just like this defensive powerhouse, because they're an injury short, I feel like, of really starting to kind of scrape pretty low in the depth chart, given where those injuries are right now. So that's what the conversation changes a little bit as well with me, Justin. So I'm looking at the center backs, and I feel like that's probably the weakest point on this field for them, but still 3 shutouts to show for it. You can't be licking your chops too much.
No, and Jake, that's where I was going to look at this. I mean, for the shutouts, let's not forget who they shut out. Their first game was 3-0 to Miami. Miami has then scored 6 goals in the next 2 games after that. They also shut out Houston. They have also now at least scored 2 goals, more than what we have. And then they shut out Dallas, and Dallas has scored 3 goals in 2 games as well. So these teams are not just like duds offensively that they're shutting out. And it's showing just, I would say, a lot of that, Jake. It's not like even when we talk about, and we're going to break down some of their key players and what to look for here, it's not like they have key players along the defensive line. They have a couple strong ones, but I think it speaks a lot to their defensive shape, which is where you were talking about, is where they really shored up that midfield. It's not just going forward. It's also what's your rest defense, what's your chemistry with these guys. When you do turn the ball over, where are you and how quickly can you get it back?
I looked at these stats, Justin, from the last year, and it just makes this case for a result even more bleak. But you look at their home form last year. They were the 7th best team at home, getting 2.11 points per match, a 12-4-2 win-loss draw home record. They created the third most expected goals last year. They conceded the fifth least expected goals against last year. They were in the top 5 of both halves last year. Again, if the whistle blew at the first, minute in the 45, they were number 4. If it started from the 45 to the 90, they were number 3. So there's no really big weakness you see with this team. And then you look at their key players. You've already talked about Buanga and Son, but Justin, give us a little more color to kind of bring to life the level of impact some of these guys have.
I mean, that's where it gets scary, Jake. And I was trying to look up some more stats on this because I'm like, if it wasn't for the script writers having Thomas Mueller versus Messi in the final last year, it should have been LAFC. But we've talked about this guy already, and I like to call him Dennis, just because I feel like that's a dig, even though there's no chance that anyone even cares about that. 31-year-old left-footed international DP striker. In 2025, he had 24 goals, second in the MLS. And then he also had 9 assists. And this was in 29 full 90. So when you look at that, that is 33 goal contributions, which is more than 1 per game throughout an entire season in the MLS. He also had the best shots on target in the MLS, or the most, with 73. And then don't forget, this wasn't just like a breakout season. He had 20 goals exactly in 2024 and 2023 as well. But he's not just a scorer. Like, it's shot volume as well with those 73 shots. And the transition valve for this team, to where if you need to lump it long to feel like just to relieve pressure, you're actually putting a guy in behind to give him a good chance to score. And he's going to force back lines to panic. And he already has, again, in 2026. He has 1 goal and 2 assists, playing all but 1 minute in their first 3 games.
And that wasn't enough, because they went in and got Son Heung-min. By the way, this guy's gonna be happy he jumped ship from Tottenham, because that ship seems to be sinking mighty, mighty fast. Shout out to all my Spurs fans out there. But he's come in and he's made an instant impact. Like, I think a lot of folks had some doubts because of how he looked in his final days at Spurs. But let me give you this number, Justin. He had, in 2025, 12 goals and 4 assists in 13 games, all competitions, producing a goal contribution every 70 minutes. That's not just like getting acclimated, getting integrated. That is like being a black hole in your team. The ball just has to come to you, because with LAFC, they have a finisher, a true output merchant in Buanga, and now also in Martinez as well. Son, I feel like, is playing that creator role where he doesn't have to have the ball at all times, but when you find him, he has that higher level of just quality to know where it needs to get to manufacture a big chance or a great chance for your team. And he's got such good quality to his left and to his right that they just make it work. And it's been really fun to watch him too.
That's what the coolest thing was about that, Jake. It was that, like, we're not talking about in those 13 games where he had 12 goals and 4 assists, like it was like middle of the season. Like, no, that's going into the MLS playoffs. Just in one of the games, in the Vancouver game that they ended up losing, he had 2 goals in that game alone. So, like, that is why you bring in a player like that. But yeah, Jake, I saw today, Tottenham, shout out Rob Schmickens and Law Firm. We'll get to you in a sec. But Tottenham is now only plus 160 to get relegated, which is absolutely wild. I've seen so many funny memes of, like, and this is probably gonna be a niche group, but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking out the taxi. It's like all the championship teams coming in to see in the new Spurs stadium and play there. It's gonna be insane. But another guy that you need to be aware of on this LAFC team, bringing myself back in, is Mark Delgado, 30-year-old U.S. international. He's kind of like the connective guy that we talked about. This is the center mid, and this is bolstering in what they've done for them to try to make sure it's not just the Bouanga show. But he's the midfielder that keeps their set sequences from dying, and then gets it to Son or Bouanga after the first line kind of gets, after they get there, then he's that kind of follow through. So in 2025, he played all 34 matches for them. I'm not going to try to do that saying again. I'm going to stutter it. But he started 30 of those, and tied for the team high 9 assists, and had 3 goals with just 7 shots on target. So the man is a distributor to try to find the feet of Dennis Bouanga or Son Heung-min. And then also, if he needs to rip a shot, he's going to really find a good place for it, scoring almost 50% of his shots on target. And in 2026, he already has a goal and assist in their first 3 matches.
Production from midfield always helps to have. David Martinez bolsters this attacking line as well. 20 years old, Venezuelan international, in his 3rd season with this team. 7 goals, 6 assists in the last 2 seasons. But in 2026, he's off to a hot start already. 2 goals and just 3 shots on target, a very lethal presence for them. And they're missing some key faces, not faces I think that work their way right immediately into the lineup, but Igor Jesus would be one. He's a U22 central midfielder for them, a Brazilian central midfield, tore his ACL against Dallas last August, is not back until at least the latter part of May, if not later in the summer. Aaron Long is on LAFC as well. He's a TAM center back for them. A crucial player for them at center. Again, a guy that I think you would want to go to, if not starting first off the bench. They don't have him available. So that's why I kind of point out center backs as a potential weak spot for them. Jeremy Bobasay is not a backup, because backup is such a mean term, but a off the bench, sub striker or an impact striker for them. He's also out as well. Schaffelberg as well. So they are, missing some key players here. So let's talk about how we can beat them. I think there's a couple things, and we'll get into our goals here as well, Justin, but they can turn this game into a track meet. Do not give them the transition game they want. If you give them, let's just say that we do get in possession and we do break into the attacking third and we do push numbers up, like we're trying to really break a team down, that they are excited about that opportunity. They're going to have Son and Bouanga on, red alert, ready to go at a moment's notice. That heavy touch goes out, that errant pass is made, and they will be running. I mean, I don't know who on our team can keep up with either of those two at pace as well. So we just need to be really smart about not giving it to them in that game state. And I think pressing wise, Justin, we've seen us become a little bit disjointed at times as well. You got to be really smart about the press too. Again, getting numbers forward, supportive, love it. But at the right times, the right moments, whether that's at Lloris, the guys at liability on the ball, in my opinion, center backs as well. They're the backs of the goal. Find and pick your moments. Don't just canvas, a press. I think we're getting better about that, but we still look exploited at times as well. What do you see, Justin, as another couple of things that could make this game count for us?
I like the one that you added in here is target the spaces outside their center backs. And what that means is if we have guys on the wing, which I don't know if it's going to be Toy Shirt or who it'll be, can we make those crossing runs to then get in from outside to in their center backs? Because if we keep trying to get the ball to the corners, that's where we had 29 crosses last game. And that's just not going to cut it on a team like this. You're going to have to get in directly behind their center backs. And how do you do that? You don't just run right at them and get called for an offsides. You kind of come in from the outside along that back line, and then just a little slip in behind, and then you get one-on-one Hugo Lloris. Try to slot that home. You don't need to murder it, Toy Shirt. Just put it in the side pocket. And I would say also, I like this one, make set pieces count. I think we've got something with Hartel and Santos. Obviously, it's a big miss without Leuven. But I think Santos has the pace and the precision to put it on someone's head or find some feet, even on a quick restart. And then Hartel has the precision as well. You can kind of see it on his dinked corners. I'd like to see if we have something from the training ground on some of these, right? If we're not going to have the Mbake or the Fallu Fall coming up for some of these, if you're only going to have a Baumgartel or like a Durkin trying to win these headers, can we try to do something from the training ground, try to do a little up back through and find something there from a set piece perspective?
I agree. And so like we said, I think our general thing is don't play their game. Play your game. You know who helps play your game and is in your corner? Our friend Rob Schmickens, which gets us into the Ball Watching STL injury report brought to you by the Schmickens Injury Law Firm. Real talk. When insurance companies get the ball, they flop, they stall, they roll around on the ground, they waste time. We hate it. It sucks. But without a team in your corner, there's no one to hold them accountable. So you make sure you give our friend Rob Schmickens a call at Rob Schmickens Injury Law Firm. They are so good at treating your case like it's the MLS Cup final, like it's US Open Cup final. This means the world to them when you come to them with your problems and your injuries to help you get to a better spot. He'll press hard. He'll play physical. He'll get down and dirty and get a little, rubbing some elbows around there if he has to make sure that you get what you need. Best part, Justin, you will not pay unless he wins. And the firm guarantees that the fees will never be greater than your share of any recovery. So if you've been hurt and need a team that actually fights for you, check them out at hurtinsdl.com or by calling Rob at 314-222-4223 and mention us. And you'll get a special discount on the attorney's fees available exclusively to our listeners. Shout out to Rob. Justin, injuries haven't remarkably improved, though we are getting a little bit of good news coming out of camp for Fallu Fall, who is back in training this week. I haven't seen a confirmation, but Ostrak and Fall, they were kind of talking about on the same wavelength. Even Ostrak, Justin, I would like, I know people have kind of hate with him. I'm more on the love side, but having another creator, I know people don't love him again, but having someone that can play a ball, like has vision, that isn't just Dirk and Edelman, that I know they're both trying to have a little bit more of that repertoire. It's not there yet. It would be nice to have a progressor as well in midfield that isn't just really more of a six type profile. So Fall and Ostrak look to be getting close. I do not expect to see them in this one. So that's unfortunate. We obviously know about Leuven still not being available. Tyson Pierce, hip injury, no new updates on that. And Totland, obviously now out with an abdomen injury. We don't know the severity of that yet either. So it's not a crazy report, but Justin, it would be nice. Falou Fall coming back would be so huge to this team, right?
Can we just knock one of these guys off the list so that it will help us with our Hoffman brothers predicted starting 11? Because the first thing that I'm thinking about, Jake, when you're talking about Ostrak taking that spot as a 6, is I still don't think Polvara will be a center back once we have both of the Falls back there. It's like at some point I would like to move him up, and then he can be in that rotation with if it's Ostrak with Edelman as opposed to a Durkin, things like that. So I would like to see Polvara. I could see it in his game. He's got the technical ability. You could see that he's used to having somebody else behind him on a lot of his positioning and where his eyes are going and how he's trying to block shots. I would like to see him get back to that usual position and be a center defensive mid, but that's not going to happen this game, is it?
No, I don't anticipate it. It's tough, man, because I just don't think there's many options at this point, given what we have on the team, both from like a roster construction perspective, as well as just injuries right now. There's not many other center backs I would turn to than the three that we have right now. Mbake did play 45 for City 2 over the weekend as well in their W. So he's got some minutes in there. I wonder if they're kind of slow rolling him as well, just to get him ready before they just throw him into the mixer against LAFC, his former team, by the way. That would be quite a welcome back. But it'd be great to get a guy like that on this. I think he would immediately slot back in for Orozco. But I think, Justin, I'm looking at this. I'd be shocked if there were any changes to the last 11 that we just played this past weekend. Do you see any changes, in center back, in midfield? Does Toyshirt maintain his spot? Do you see any flux?
The only possible flux would be, I don't want to, I mean, Orozco for Mbake is possible, but again, I agree with you. I don't think this is the time where you throw him in there. He's already going to be nervous as hell. You don't want to throw him back in there for his homecoming, essentially, for LAFC. I think they're going to keep Hartel and Toyshirt. Jake, I have a serious question. Do you think they'll keep Betcher up top? We're now 3 goals in, and he has not scored 3 games in, has not scored a goal. I can look up stats. I don't think we remove him. I don't think this is the time to do that. I think you give him a little bit more. If you think about it, he had a game without Hartel. He also hasn't played with the same 2 guys below him for 2 consecutive games. So I'd like to give him another shot there, but I at least want to call it out there.
No, that's a great talking point. I know a lot of fans would say, hell yeah, play anyone, play McSorley, play Joyner, play whoever you want up there. And I think people also forget, yes, it'd be great to see those guys. And if they score, that would be fantastic. There's no guarantee, of course. But you got to also think about the confidence here. Like, what are you telling Simon Betcher if you're only 3 games in, one of them without Hartel, your main creator behind him, that you're done, right? Like, I'm not saying that'd be the message that he's done, but now you're taking him out of a crucial away match against one of the best teams in this league that will probably in the mixer in the MLS Cup final. What does that signal to him to just say, hey, McSorley, you're in, or hey, Joyner, you're in? Like, would I like to see it? Like, from an unbiased perspective, it'd be cool to see one of those guys get a run out and see what they do or what is different about how they strike versus how Betcher strikes. But I think you'd be really throwing an arrow right through his balloon.
Because right now, so looking at it, he has 9 shots in total across our 3 games. He's played 231 minutes, so that would be 2 full 90s in 50 minutes. So playing the majority of our time, 9 shots, only 1 on target, and it was actually the first game versus Charlotte as well. So that's creating a 0.48 xG. Not saying that he needs to be over a 1 xG this early in the season, but only having 1 total shot on goal in the first 3 games. Again, he can only do what chances he's kind of working with that he's able to get. Yes, you need to be able to create some chances yourself as the starting striker for us, but that's a tough situation. I don't want to see him out. I want to see him starting this one, but I at least wanted to toss it up there because I'm like, I agree with you. Nothing else really changes, but also, Jake, we now have 1 point out of a possible 9, so something's got to change.
You do, but also remember, I thought that first game against Charlotte, he was exceptional, like really, really good. You would have wished he hit the back of the net, but he had the assist as well in that one. So I think you are looking at maybe changing after 5. I think maybe I think that's fair to give him 5 and say show me something, even if it's not a goal, like show us step forward in this match. Show us that you are creating danger, you're getting on the end of things, and you're putting them on net. And I think that kind of gives someone maybe a little bit more runway.
Jake, the one thing that we're not thinking about is Cordova. We
Yeah.
just spent $2 million or 2.5 million, and he only has 10 games total. So, like, if you give Simon a runway of the 5, you're really only giving Cordova a runway of like 5 or 6 if you start him every game too. So, like, at some point, we paid the money for this man. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw him in up top next game.
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, well, this man isn't going to be on your team past June. So who do you invest the minutes in? Do you invest it in the guy that you forfeited, $2 million in GAM on? Or do you invest it in the guy that you just gave a contract extension to and who will be here for a couple of years? I mean, it's fortunately not decisions we have to make, but DeMay and Co are going to have to live with it. Justin, what do you think about the goals for the game before we talk about predictions and bets? I think for me, this game gets flipped on its head if we concede an early goal against LAFC. I think that would be the death knell for us. So you cannot concede early and play chase with LAFC because they'll bait you in and they'll just go on the counter as soon as you do. So I no early goal is my biggest key for the game. No early goal conceded. You know what? LAFC, they want to try to grow into a play with the ball team possession. Show us. We'll play more of a mid to low block. We'll see how we can defend against a really good team like this when we're not caught in transition. Let's see what we can do when we get dirty. Play like your Burnley, your Stokes on a cold Saturday night. I want to see that performance out of us. Like, see how gross it can get, and see what LAFC can do on the ball, because I don't think they've really shown a lot of it yet. They're going to get there eventually, I'm sure, but I don't think they've figured it out. If you want to get a result, that might be the only way to do so.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Because I really did like your goals for the game is no early goal. If I have to give one for us, I'd literally just, if we can get to half without a goal, that'd be huge. But you know what? I'm gonna make it really easy for us and say, Jake, score. And I originally had a prediction out here that we were gonna lose 3-0. I'm gonna up it to 3-1. And here's why. I think it is extremely tough for a team to go 4 straight games without giving up a goal. That's pretty much it. And I'm not saying that we're the ones that are gonna like change that for them, but I want to have a little bit of confidence in this one. And I think it would be awesome if we can get something on the scoreboard. Even if we end up taking the L, just give me something. That's all.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm a little bit less optimistic than you. I have 4-1 as my prediction loss here. And again, this is just, we're running up against a team that's in good form, and we're not. And attack is their proficiency, and defense and honestly offense right now are not great for us. Worst teams we've played against so far have gotten a lot of big chances than LAFC. So I just don't have, like the paper, it doesn't look great, right? Like I just don't anticipate a lot of fun for the defenders on Saturday. So, I hate doing that, by the way. I know you do too. But like, you also got to be honest here as well. Like, I'm not sipping the Kool-Aid in this one. This is going to be a stiff test, and they're going to learn a hell of a lot from it. I just hope we just don't get spanked around, but unfortunately, we might see a little bit of that.
It's a tough environment to go into on a Saturday night in Los Angeles, and at some point, also as we're going to touch on the bets here, I can't keep losing money just by like, oh yeah, City's gonna pull this one out. So City is plus 600 to win this game. LAFC is minus 300. The draw is plus 425. So if you bet $10 on City to win, you would get your money back plus $60. You could bet on City double chance at plus 200. That's $10 to win 20. Again, I don't think that we're going to even tie this game. So what am I going with on this one, Jake? I might make it more fun and do the over 3.5, just the game total over 3.5, and root for goals. Like, even if we lose 4-0, at least my bet hits. But I really hate this bet as well. It's not even out there yet because LAFC is playing tonight, but it will be later. I'm going with a Denny Bouanga goal. I'm assuming the odds will probably be, they might even be plus money, to be honest, but maybe minus 120, something like that. I'll let you guys know. But he has scored 6 goals in his last 4 games against us, Jake. I think it was 2 goals last game, 1 for that, 2 goals for that, 1 for that. So this is a guy that just knows how to slice and dice us. And I think he's off to a little bit of a slow start in 2026. And I think that he could find his form against us of all teams. He only has 1 goal in 3 games. And yeah, that's a slow start for Denny Bouanga when he averages 20 plus a game, 20 plus a season. So yeah, if he takes that same and he goes 1 every 3 games, he's only going to get 10 or 12 this season. That pace ain't keeping up. And I think he's going to score on Saturday night.
Unfortunately, I follow a similar tune. I didn't go individual, but I said LAFC to win by 2+ in this match, which, by the way, I think just given how things are going, and we kept it to 2 I would still be in the money here, but I would love that. And the odds here are -115 for LAFC to win by 2+ in goal margin. So, you know, I hope we're both wrong. I hope Luanga doesn't score, and I hope LAFC lose by 1,000. But you can't just ignore what you're seeing out there, and we are very much an unfinished product at this point. We're really trying to look for that identity. We're lacking some confidence. We're lacking some quality in key positions because of injuries, because of how we've been assembled as well. And LAFC are, I would say, frankly, kind of at the precipice of their powers at the moment. So you just couldn't be further apart, right, in terms of executing your vision. And that's what reflects in our predictions as well.
Right, and that's where I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're not going to be your negative guys. We're usually going to be your positive ones, but it's also at some point you have to be realistic about your expectations going into this game. Otherwise, it could be a long night and a long
Yeah.
season for us. So if we're facing a team that is averaging 2 goals a game right now because they have scored 6 goals in 3 games and they have not allowed any versus us that has only scored 1 goal in 3 games, and we're going away to this team as well, we just got to be a gotta water down. I was a wet down.
Yeah.
Water down the
Yeah.
expectations. And that's where we're
We
at.
do.
And you know what? I think there's going to be plenty of games this season that we're going to get points on. I just don't think it's going to be this one.
Yeah. But either way, got to look at the positive. I think it's going to be a good learning opportunity. And I just don't think there are many better attacking fronts that you'll face in this season, maybe ever in MLS. I hope not. But, I just think if you're looking at this, you got to be DeMay and doing your best, of course. But this is going to be one that people remember, regardless of what the result is. And if you can go toe to toe with LAFC, I have great aspirations for what you can do. So let's hope that, we bring that attitude to this game that you got nothing to lose. Everyone expects you to get the brakes beaten off you in this match. Obviously, Vegas does with these odds. And obviously, we do with our predictions. Prove us wrong. I would love nothing more than to eat a healthy dose of humble pie on the podcast next week. Justin, I know you'd sit right in the chair next to me and do the same.
I would absolutely love it, Jake. That would be an awesome week. But until then, all for City.
All for City.